Larry Kudlow is with us, Director of the National Economic Council at the White House. Larry, there are some negatives this morning. More than 1.1 million jobless claims. The Fed says the virus is hurting growth. Back to school and college is a bust for in-classroom learning. Parents are stuck at home. Why don't you give us an update on the status of the V-shaped recovery?
Well, okay, thanks, Stu. I'm not supposed to talk about unemployment until 9:30, but I'll just say this quickly. The 4-week moving average of those initial claims is still coming down. It's a volatile series. We've created over 9 million jobs, we, the economy, the American people, in the last 3 months. And all the signals, I think, are for a strong V-shaped recovery. Incidentally, on the claims number, one more quickie. Continuing claims, that is, those who are actually on unemployment, fell by over 600,000. So I don't think it's a bad number at all.
It's not, but it's not, aside from the jobless number, it's not a vigorous, dynamic, flat-out, straight-up recovery, is it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, from the pandemic, which was a bone crusher and a heartbreaker, you've got a whole series of indicators that are booming. I mean, they're just soaring. The housing sector, which is a leading indicator of the economy, housing permits up by 40%. They're way above the February level before the pandemic. Home builder sentiment is the strongest it's been in 22 years. You've got a boom in automobiles, both production and sales. And here's a key point. Inventories collapsed in that second quarter, the contraction quarter. So you got to rebuild inventories to satisfy consumer demand on cars and other things. Retailing, I mean, you saw the numbers from Lowe's and Home Depot and Target yesterday and so forth. Retailing is very strong. That thing's above its February levels. It's hard for me to see. Look, I understand perfectly well the concerns about the virus. I understand that. I get that. The good news is new cases have dropped quite a bit, about 35% from the mid-July highs. But fatalities now flattening out and curving down. But I understand that risk. I get that. And I also understand that still way too many people are not working. That's fair enough. But I will say this, the early returns for May, June, and July have been really kind of spectacular. So I got my fingers crossed that we're in a self-sustaining recovery.
Okay, fingers crossed. Well, do we need another virus aid package? We understand that the Democrats are thinking about putting it to the vote next week. Do we need more money pumped into the economy right now?
Well, look, we can add targeted, sensible help. We can do that. We cannot add $3.5 to $4 trillion more. Which was the Democratic wish list. That's not going to work at all. We'd like some extra money to help the schools. That's important. We'd like some extra money to help health care, COVID-related, directly related health care. We've offered to put up some more money to the post office, although I don't think they really need it. They got $10 billion in cash a few months ago. That's okay. I mean, our mantra is kids and jobs. Please don't forget, regarding fiscal stimulus, the president's brilliant idea to defer the payroll tax for quite some time. I think it will ultimately be forgiven if he is reelected. That's his pledge. That's a wage increase for over 140 million working Americans who were heroes. They had the opportunity during the pandemic. We're going to reward them. We also are going to increase, we've offered to increase through executive order assistance for those who are unemployed. Right? It's a handsome package, a generous package, which will reduce the fear of disincentives to work. It's $300 from federal, maybe an extra $100 from the states, but they don't have to match. If they put money in, we'll help them anyway. These are things that are targeted, right? We're going to keep the eviction moratorium on, and we're going to keep the student loans deferral interest-free. So, yeah, we're adding some on the tax cut side, some on the spending side. We do not need another $4 trillion.
Well, if they came to you and said, look, we got a deal here for another trillion. I'm just picking a number, another trillion. Would you and the president turn it down?
I don't think so. It depends what's in. Okay. But Secretary Mnuchin has said several times. He said several times.
There's a political angle to this, Larry.
Is good.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
There's a political angle to this. We're 10 weeks to the election. I can't imagine a politician turning down a chunk of money chucked into the economy, chucked towards voters right before an election. I don't see how you could turn it down.
Well, again, through a combination of sensible, targeted spending increases and tax cuts, right? Tax cuts. Let's not forget that. In fact, the president has talked about cutting the income tax in his second term. He's talked about cutting the capital gains tax. Yes. He's talking about making the corporations' immediate depreciation permanent, things like that. They're very powerful incentives for the economy. But just to throw another $4 trillion willy-nilly on a Democratic wish list, most of which was rejected in the bipartisan package last March. Secretary Mnuchin has said if it's sensible and if it works and if it's targeted, yes, we would probably be favorable, but we don't have the details yet. And right now, the talks are rather stalled.
What do you make of the Democrat convention and Joe Biden and his calls for sharply higher taxes pretty much across the board? What do you think happens to the economy and the recovery if any of those tax increases are imposed?
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. Okay, I don't care whether you're a Keynesian, supply side, or whatever. You're coming out of a terrible pandemic contraction. Terrible. All right? Tragedies almost everywhere, and we're still climbing out. Now, would you, Stu Varney, suggest that we should be taking money from individual men and women who are working or want to go back to work? I mean, that's what a tax hike is. It's taking money. It's picking people's pockets. And, of course, the old mantra from the Democrats is, well, it's rich people. No, it's not. They're going to go across the board. Corporations, individuals, you name it, they will tax it. They'll never get the numbers they think from taxing successful earners. It never happens. So it's the middle class folks who are going to get the tax hike, as they always do. President Trump has a middle class payroll tax cut to increase wages. I mean, why would you? I don't care who you, what's your philosophy? We're desperately trying to claw our way back. The numbers are good. The early numbers for the 3 months and so forth look good. Why would you take money out of people's pockets? I would like the people to have more after-tax income, not less. I don't get it.
Because it's not, well, this is not me talking. I'm trying to, paraphrase the left.
I thought that was your proposal.
No,
I'm sorry.
Oh, good Lord, Larry.
Oh, that was Biden.
Stop it, Larry. Kudlow, stop it, please. But look, yesterday, Apple went to a valuation of $2 trillion. Amazon went up well above $3,000 per share. The people who run those companies represent the very, very wealthy people of America. And the left is saying, you got so much, you can give up a little. We're going to tax you a bit more in the interests of fairness. So there is a political angle to this, which is very attractive to many Americans. It's not fair the way things are at the moment.
This is always, I was here several decades ago for Reagan. I heard the same mantra. Only rich people get tax cuts. So Reagan slashed taxes from 70% to 28%, okay? Yep. And nobody complained when we have one of the greatest economic booms in the history of this country, which created well over 20 million jobs. Here's President Trump's story. He inherits the weakest recovery on record, an unemployment rate, industrial production teetering on the edge of recession. And President Trump comes in, lowers taxes across the board, sharply reduces burdensome and costly business regulations, particularly small business, unleashes energy, which Mr. Biden wants to terminate fracking and natural gas and fossil fuels, and scores some major trade deals in North America and China and elsewhere, which will help our manufacturing and our farm people and just about everybody else. So the economy soars. The economy soars, okay? Lower taxes, fair trade, cheap and plentiful energy. Get the regulations out. We get the unemployment rate down to 3.5% with no inflation. Go down the list. Blacks, Hispanics, Asians, women, and so forth. Lowest unemployment in history for the most part. That's why his policies have worked. Democrats want to overturn his policies. And here's what you'll get. Here's what's at stake. to voters, to Americans of all stripes. I don't care what party you're in. I don't care, color, anything. Do you want a future economy with prosperity and opportunity and health? Or do you want to go back to a stagnant economy, which will make everybody worse off and lower living standards? And final point on, President Trump has said from day one, and this is where he completely differs from our friends on the other side of the aisle, we should, as Americans, as our ideal, we should reward success, okay? Those companies you cited weren't even around, okay, 20, 30 years ago, weren't even around, have created hundreds of thousands of jobs, have rewarded their shareholders in the stock market, have rewarded stakeholders in their community. I don't want to punish them, I want to reward them, but most of all, I want more people to invent new companies and new technologies, to innovate, to build up. You can fail 3 or 4 times in this country, but as long as the opportunity is there, as long as the opportunity is there and we reward success, then we will see a fabulous comeback. You will see it before this year is over. We're going to have 20% plus growth in the 3rd and 4th quarter.
Oh, next you got to right at the very end. We'll have 20% growth in the 4th
plus
quarter.
Growth in the 3rd and 4th quarters. You can score that. And we're going to have a big bang year next year,
Larry,
as the president puts in his free market reward success policies.
You're a former journalist, and you buried the lead until the last second of the interview. I'm surprised, Larry.
Well, I wanted to keep you. I wanted to keep you on the edge of your seat.
You did. Well, by the way, happy birthday, Larry. I believe August the 20th, your birthday.
Thank you. Yes, sir. I am 73.
Fantastic.
I am 73 years old. I'm still standing. I am very blessed, really very blessed, to give service to the country. And my wonderful bride, and the Stu Varney Show on TV. It's great stuff.
Thanks, Larry.